Tonight, sorry isn't always the hardest word. In fact,
to that extent, I have contributed to the situation. I am profoundly sorry.
When will men be allowed to choose a new speaker with the moral authority to clean up Westminster?
Your early
Tonight, sorry isn't always the hardest word. In fact, it came remarkably readily to the Speaker's lips today, but that wasn't enough.
To that extent, I have contributed to the situation. I am profoundly sorry.
When will members be allowed to choose a new speaker with the moral authority to clean up Westminster?
Your early retirement, sir, would help the reputation of the House.
As Esther Ranson threatens to stand for Parliament, can she really be a more plausible people's representative than established politicians? In Sri Lanka, the Tamil Tigers are crushed by government forces, but are they really finished?
There is no reason why we should not seize this opportunity.
President Obama puts pressure on the Israeli leader over Middle East peace. Will it make any difference? And what happened when young people from Britain were introduced to the source of the cheap tuna in their sandwiches?
People are just working like machines. I can't act like a machine. I'm just a human being. And, in general, I've not worked in any of these conditions before, and I don't want to.
Good evening. Cometh the hour, cometh not the man. Given an opportunity to begin trying to restore faith in the House of Commons today, MPs were disorientated, disillusioned and disorganised. As for the Speaker, he was confused. Shambles was a word that came to the lips of many witnesses. Farce was another. Those calling for the Speaker to quit, as at least a first step towards restoring public confidence in our politicians, were disappointed. The Speaker's fingernails will have, it seems, to be prized from the green leather chair. First tonight, Michael Crick reports.
Today was the day ministers launched their Cash for Bangers campaign, giving drivers £2,000 to trade in their old car. And the day that MPs increasingly were wondering whether their old model, Glasgow registered, 9 years on the clock, unreliable, prone to stall, costly to run, should finally be sent to the crusher. Should Speaker Michael Martin be traded in for a shiny, newer model? It's entirely a decision for MPs, Gordon Brown insisted.
The decision about who is Speaker is a matter for the House of Commons. It could never be a matter for the government. But look, what we've seen in expenses and in the revelations has angered and appalled me.
And yes, in reality, under Commons procedure, only Mr Brown and his government can decide whether the no-confidence motion tabled today by 15 MPs will get debated soon or voted on, as became clear when Michael Martin made this statement, trying to save his skin.
We must all accept blame, and to that extent, I have contributed to the situation. I am profoundly sorry. Now, each and every member, including myself, must work hard to regain your trust. I say again.
It was almost embarrassing as he stumbled from line to line, and rebel MPs wanted to know when they could debate their no-confidence motion.
Am I right in thinking it will be debated tomorrow and voted upon?
No, order. This is not a point of order.
His authority was crumbling before us, and, most astonishing, answering the Tory MP who'd organised the motion, he seemed unsure of basic procedure.
The honourable gentleman knows. Order. Well, let me ask the clerk, because I'm wrong, I'll say so. The clerk. It's a motion in the remaining orders. Pardon? It's a remaining order on the The remaining orders can only be proceeded with if it becomes a substantive motion. Order.
Mr. Martin did say he'd hold an emergency meeting on expenses with all party leaders, but contrary to what many expected, didn't cool matters by saying when he'd retire.
If you gave some indication of your own intention to retire, your early retirement, sir, would help the reputation of the House.
Another long-standing MP compared this crisis to May 1940, when MPs brought down Neville Chamberlain over British failures during the early months of the war.
Could I ask you, sir, to bear in mind that the condition of the House today is rather like the condition of the country at the time of the Norway debate, and could you reflect on that?
But it must be stressed, not every MP was out for his blood.
My constituents, as most people's constituents, do not want to see you made a scapegoat for the actions of these members.
Can I say the honourable gentleman?
In the space of less than 20 minutes, Mr. Martin had made his own position a lot worse. But whether MPs get a no-confidence vote depends on whether the pressure on the government from MPs and the public gets so intense they're forced to concede the time for such a debate. And David Davis, one of the Tories who signed the no-confidence motion, agrees the next step lies with the government.
This is a government decision, but the government themselves are beginning to realise that Michael Martin cannot continue in his post. They need somebody else to deal with this issue. We saw today Gordon Brown shading his language, now saying it's the will of the Commons, not my will. Well, if it's the will of the Commons, he has to give the Commons the chance to express that viewpoint, and that's what must happen this week.
Is David Davis a contender when Michael Martin does go eventually?
Absolutely not. I can only guarantee you one thing about the succession of Michael Martin, and that is it won't be me.
Tonight, Gordon Brown unexpectedly addressed a meeting of the Parliamentary Labour Party and told them that Parliament had to move away from self-regulation. By implication, that meant not just on expenses, but other aspects of MPs' behaviour. But the former Leader of the House, Peter Hain, told Mr. Brown and his colleagues that the government had to provide time for Parliament to debate the no-confidence motion in Michael Martin. Mr. Brown will try to calm matters further by publishing this week all Commons expenses for his government ministers, while tomorrow Labour's National Executive will discuss whether and when local Labour parties should now be able to ditch MPs whose expense claims have embarrassed them.
A short time ago, I spoke to the Liberal Democrat leader Nick Clegg, who's called for the Speaker to resign. I began by suggesting that whatever he and his party might want, the Speaker didn't seem to be going anywhere.
Oh, I think there are events will unfold further. I think his credibility has been seriously damaged today. And I think people sort of looking at the spectacle in the House of Commons today will simply despair that the Chamber's descended into sort of foot dragging, the Speaker of the House of Commons sort of digging his heels in. I think there are many people who feel that in order to move from an old, discredited system to a new system, which hopefully over time will enjoy more public support, you can't have the people who presided over the old system ushering in the new system. You need new people with new rules as well.
Did he look to you like a man who knew what was going on or appreciated the scale of the difficulty?
I think it was a very confusing session, but strange enough, I don't actually want to make this sort of very personal about him. I just think he, given he was such a dogged defender of the old system, you know, he's part of the past. We need a new set of people in authority, in the heart of the Westminster establishment, who are prepared to turn it upside down and inside out. I think it would be wrong to make him a kind of scapegoat for the monumental failures of judgment of many
that is
individual
exactly
MPs.
what, in arguing that he should go, that's exactly what you're doing. I mean, how do you think it looks to members of the public? They see a bunch of MPs with their hands in the till, and you round on this old man who's in the Speaker's chair.
Oh, well, listen, the MPs who've done things which are seriously wrong will have to account for their actions and might well find themselves you know, the subject of sanctions, suspensions, who knows, police investigations and more in the months ahead. The thing is this, I don't think changing the Speaker is a sufficient